"Mr. Ward, is it?" The bank manager said, skipping any respectful title. This check raises concerns. "Can you explain where it came from?" "I already did," Ezekiel replied, voice even. "It's from a real estate transaction. The contact is on the check." "Call them." Tate's tone turned smug, loud enough for others to hear. "Checks like this don't just show up. I'm declining the transaction. Try another branch." These were the words of the bank's branch. If only he knew who the customer he was been rude to is. What happens next shook everyone to the core. The soft chime above the glass doors of Horizon Fidelity Bank in downtown Raleigh, North Carolina, barely rose above the quiet hum of the luxurious lobby. The marble floors gleamed, and golden light from crystal chandeliers reflected off polished counters. The air smelled faintly of leather and money, the kind of place where wealth didn't just talk. It gave orders. Ezekiel Ward, 52, stepped inside, dressed in a sharp charcoal suit and polished shoes. He held a check for $750,000, the payment for selling a commercial lot. Ezekiel was a man who had built a real estate empire from scratch, and he walked in expecting professionalism, maybe a little respect. But what awaited him was a wave of assumptions that would turn a simple visit into something else entirely. He scanned the room with steady eyes. Well-dressed customers sipped coffee in plush chairs, the quiet sound of typing filling the space. Ezekiel calmly joined the line, the check tucked safely in his chest pocket. Though he wasn't based in Raleigh, this bank branch was one of 22 he owned through Horizon Fidelity, where he was a majority shareholder. Most people didn't know his name, but he didn't need to flaunt it. He'd earned it through decades of hard work. Growing up in Durham's Haiti district, Ezekiel learned early how the world saw him, with suspicion and doubt. At 27, he'd flipped a rundown duplex for $20,000 profit. By 35, he owned half of Charlotte's commercial real estate. Now, at 52, he controlled 64% of Horizon Fidelity Bank. The check in his pocket was just another deal, until prejudice stepped in. The line moved slowly. Ezekiel stood still, watching. A woman in a cashmere coat glanced at him a little too long. A man nearby checked his watch impatiently. Ezekiel remained composed, instinct sharp. He'd seen this before, being treated with doubt just because of who he was. But he always pushed through. When it was finally his turn, he handed the check to a young teller named Jada. Her eyes widened slightly at the amount. She smiled, but it was tight and uncertain. "I'll need to get my manager's approval, sir," she said politely but cautiously. "No problem," Ezekiel replied warmly. "Take your time." Jada nodded and stepped away. Ezekiel leaned on the counter, appearing relaxed but staying alert. Something in the air felt off, a subtle tension he recognized from past experiences. Soon, a man in his 50s approached. He had graying hair and the self-important look of someone in charge. Lawrence Tate, the branch manager. He took the check from Jada, glanced at it, then at Ezekiel. The pause was long, uncomfortable, like he was looking at a problem, not a client. "ID," he said flatly. Ezekiel handed him his license, his movements calm and deliberate. Tate barely looked at it before sliding it back. "I need to verify this with the issuer," he said, holding the check like it might be fake. "Where did you get this?" Ezekiel's jaw tightened, but his voice remained calm. "Payment for a real estate deal. The contact is right there on the check." Tate smirked. "Real estate? That's quite a sum." He turned to Jada. "Hold this. I'll check it out." Ezekiel had seen this kind of treatment before. It wasn't new. He stood tall, his suit like armor, his patience a quiet strength. Tate walked off with the check like he owned the place. Time passed slowly. The room felt heavier. People began whispering, throwing glances his way. The woman in the cashmere coat leaned in to whisper to her husband. A man nearby lowered his tablet, staring. Still, Ezekiel stood his ground, calm but not unseen. Jada returned, her voice soft. "He's still verifying it, sir. Just routine." Ezekiel gave a kind nod. "I understand. You're doing your job. Not everyone does." She seemed a bit relieved, but the room stayed tense. A man by the door muttered to a friend, "Big check like that? Better be careful. Ezekiel heard it all. He'd built this bank. It had 22 branches and over $2.5 billion in assets. Yet here he was, still being doubted. Tate finally returned, face stiff, check still in hand. "Mr. Ward, is it?" he said, skipping any respectful title. "This check raises concerns. Can you explain where it came from?" "I already did," Ezekiel replied, voice even. "It's from a real estate transaction. The contact is on the check. Call them." Tate's tone turned smug, loud enough for others to hear. "Checks like this don't just show up. I'm declining the transaction. Try another branch." A customer coughed awkwardly. Another shifted in her seat. Ezekiel leaned forward, his voice quiet but sharp. "You haven't verified anything. So tell me, why are you really refusing the check?" Tate gave a smug shrug. "Bank policy. It just doesn't look right. Nothing personal." Ezekiel's expression tightened. "Not personal? Then why not follow your own policy and call the issuer? Or is it because I don't look like someone who belongs in a place like this?" The lobby went silent. Everyone was watching. Tate's smirk faltered, but he raised his voice like he wanted the audience on his side. "This bank has a right to refuse suspicious transactions. And this," he waved the check, "this is suspicious." Some customers nodded slightly. Others looked uncomfortable. A man in a polo whispered, "Told you, gotta be careful with checks like that." The woman in the cashmere coat clutched her purse tighter. Ezekiel's voice grew firmer. "So you're making this decision based on a feeling, not facts? You're standing here in front of all these people and deciding I don't belong." Tate's face hardened. "Look, Mr. Ward, I don't need to explain myself. You can go to another branch. We're done here." The room went still. All eyes were on Ezekiel. He stood tall. His suit was like armor. "Done," he repeated calmly, but with weight. "No, 10 minutes later, you just started something. The front door chimed again. He slowly took out his phone, sharp eyes locked on Tate. Leading them was a confident decision in her I'll handle it differently. Clara Tate Morgan muttered under his breath. The regional director, just loud enough to be heard. Her blazer was crisp. Some people her heels echoed across the marble. Ezekiel walked was cold steel and made a call. She saw Ezekiel immediately and walked downtown Raleigh branch. "Mr. Ward, they're refusing I came the process as soon as you called. I need you here." Everyone froze. Then Tate's hung color drained, chest tight with frustration. Jada looked up. He looked toward Jada. Customers she avoided his eyes to listen. Her hands trembling as she typed. The whole lobby was watching. Branch manager? The air was thick with judgment. "Yes, ma'am," he stammered. She took the check from his hand. "This," she said sharply, "is unacceptable. Mr. Ward owns 64% of Horizon Fidelity. You refuse his check without even verifying it." Gasps filled the room. Jada's mouth dropped open. The man in the polo dropped his coffee. The woman in the cashmere coat froze in place. Tate turned pale. "Shareholder? I didn't know." "You didn't ask," Ezekiel said calmly but clearly. "You saw me, made a decision, and treated me like a problem. You ignored procedure, humiliated me, and did it all publicly. Why?" Tate fumbled. "It looked suspicious. The amount. Because of what?" Ezekiel stepped closer. "Because of my suit? My business? Or something you won't say out loud?" The room was dead silent. A customer whispered, "He owns the bank?" Another looked down, ashamed. Clara turned to Tate, her voice icy. "Your actions go against everything this bank stands for. You didn't just fail a customer. You failed the person who built this place." Tate shook, still holding the check. "I thought it might be fraud. I was protecting the bank." "Protecting?" Ezekiel's voice cut through him. "You weren't protecting anyone. You were judging me by how I look. You didn't check the issuer, didn't confirm the funds. You just assumed. That's not protection, that's prejudice." The word rang out. Jada blinked back tears. A woman by the coffee bar slowly nodded in agreement. An older man clenched his briefcase, his face tense. Clara stepped in, her tone still strong. "Mr. Ward, we'll process your check right away. Lawrence, step aside. Your conduct will be investigated." But Ezekiel raised a hand. His voice was calm, steady. "This isn't just about the check." He looked around at the crowd, tellers, customers, everyone watching. It's about what happens when people choose assumptions over facts. I walked into this bank, my bank, expecting the same respect anyone deserves. Instead, I was judged and humiliated. The lobby stirred with murmurs. A young woman clapped quietly, then stopped. A man nodded, solemn. I built this bank. 22 branches, over $2.5 billion in assets. Not so people could be treated like I was. Respect isn't privilege. It's a right. And no one gets to decide who deserves it based on appearance or assumptions. The lobby fell silent again. Ezekiel turned to Tate, his voice softer now, but firm. You didn't just fail me. You let everyone in this room believe it's okay to judge before they understand. That's not what this place is about. Tate's hands trembled. He looked at the floor. I didn't mean... You didn't mean to humiliate me? You didn't mean to make a scene? Ezekiel said, Then what did you mean? Tell us. Tell them. Tate struggled to speak. I was following protocol. The amount was large. I needed to be careful. Protocol means verifying. Ezekiel replied coldly. You didn't verify. You judged. That wasn't company policy. That was you. The room was frozen. Jada sat still, her eyes full. The woman by the coffee bar clapped again, louder this time. A few customers joined in. The older man cleared his throat and said plainly, He's right. You didn't even try. Clara nodded. Mr. Ward, I'm so sorry. We'll begin immediate training across all branches. Lawrence, you're relieved for today. We'll discuss your actions further. Ezekiel raised his hand again. His voice filled the room. Training is a start, but real change doesn't come from paperwork. It comes from people choosing to be better every day, looking beyond surface, seeing value instead of judging by bias. He paused and finished. I didn't build this bank for moments like this. I built it to be better. Gasps spread across the room. Jada looked shocked, her hands frozen over the keyboard. The room was silent. Ezekiel's words lingered like a sermon. Jada's eyes shimmered. She clutched the counter. The young woman by the coffee bar wiped her cheek, nodding firmly. The older man in the tweed jacket stood and spoke quietly. You've given us a lot to think about, Mr. Ward. Thank you. Ezekiel turned to Jada, his voice gentle. He slid a business card across the counter. You did your job, Jada. I saw that. If anyone ever makes you feel small, here or anywhere, call me. We all deserve better than what happened today. Jada took the card, her hands shaking. Thank you, sir, she whispered. Ezekiel straightened his suit jacket and looked one last time at Tate, who stood frozen behind the counter, the $750,000 check still sitting untouched. This isn't about revenge, Tate, Ezekiel said, calm and clear. It's about making sure no one else walks into this bank and feels the way I did today. Do better. He turned and walked out. His steps echoed on the marble floor. The bell above the door chimed as he left. The lobby stayed silent. Eyes followed him out. The weight of his words hung in the air like smoke. But it wasn't over. Outside, standing on Raleigh's busy sidewalk, Ezekiel's phone buzzed. A text anonymous. No name, just a grainy photo from 1994. A younger Ezekiel, broke and frustrated, standing outside a Durham bank, denied a loan. The message: you thought you'd won. Silas Kane never forgets. Ezekiel's blood chilled. Silas Kane, his former mentor, now rival. A man who once called Ezekiel too ambitious for his kind. A man Ezekiel thought he had defeated years ago by buying out his failing firm. Clearly, Kane wasn't done. The game gets deeper. Ezekiel stood tall outside the bank. At 52, he had built an empire. Ward Enterprises, 22 branches, $2.5 billion in assets. But the past was clawing its way back. The incident at the bank today hadn't been random. It was a calculated move. A test. A warning. Kane was behind it. Back at his office in Charlotte, Ezekiel dug into Horizon Fidelity's shareholder records. And there it was. Silas Kane now owned 9% of the bank's shares, quietly gathered over 2 years. Not enough to take over, but enough to cause trouble. Even worse, 3 board members, Hammond, Pierce, and Langston, were pushing for a strategic realignment. Their emails hinted at outside influence. Kane's influence. Ezekiel called Clara Morgan. Kane's behind this. He's got shares and board allies. Look into it. I'm on it, she said. If Kane's involved, I'll find the paper trail. Old rivalries, new threats. Kane wasn't just angry. He had a plan. He wanted to paint Ezekiel as unstable, using the Raleigh lobby incident to stir doubt among the board and investors. He wanted control, power, revenge. Clara confirmed the worst. Kane's emails show he's pushing board members to dilute your control, and he's working with Apex Capital. Ezekiel's voice dropped. He's trying to gut this bank from the inside. He's not alone, Clara warned. He's dug up old rumors about you. Durham 95. Lies, but enough to scare weak investors. The showdown. 2 weeks later, at the Horizon Fidelity board meeting, Kane made his move. The Raleigh incident proves Mr. Ward's leadership is divisive, Kane said. We need new direction. Ezekiel stood calm but firm. Divisive? I stood up to bias in my own bank. You, Silas, tried to humiliate me in public. You fed Tate lies. You cut secret deals. You want power, not for the bank's future, but to settle an old score. He laid out the proof. Emails, boardroom deals, Apex Capital's involvement. Silence. Then nods. Board member Torres stood. Ezekiel's right. This isn't leadership reform. It's sabotage. The vote came. Kane's allies crumbled. Kane was out, forced to sell his shares. Defeated. Aftermath. Later that night, Ezekiel sat in the Raleigh diner with Clara. Neon lights flickered. His coffee was cold. You won, Clara said. Ezekiel looked out the window. Did I? Kane's gone, but there'll be another. There always is. Clara smiled softly. Jada's in management training now. She keeps your card on her desk. What you said that day, it's already changing things. Ezekiel nodded. A faint smile touched his lips. One step's enough, Clara replied. But Ezekiel knew better. The fight was never just one step. It was a climb, a war, a legacy. He would keep building and keep defending what he built. Because for those who've been judged before they're known, Ezekiel's story is more than a warning. It's a reminder. Your worth isn't their verdict. Fight for your place. But know, it'll leave scars. If you enjoy this story, please like and leave a comment on what part interests you more. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more inspirational and true life stories like this. Bye.